was violence. Actually, I interpreted that my husband loved me so much. From the time that we were courting, he was very much overprotective. He wanted to know where I was going. He wanted to be near me. He had like built a cocoon for me. But like any other young girl, like the ones we have here today, everyone, when your husband to be builds a cocoon around you, you believe that this man loves me. Nobody, there is no other, as I also believed. And we stayed together for 10 years. He had not even shown me his finger. But when it happened, it hit headlines. I had hit headlines on this nation. If you had ever heard of a man who tried to kill his whole family, then when his attempts failed, he turned the sword to himself. That was my husband.
All right, I'm very sorry, and we're glad though that you've survived that deal. So when it started, you said for 10 years, so how old were you when you were courting and towards marriage?
I was still in my 20s.
Okay.
Yeah, because I got married at 21, headed to 22 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's when it started. Well, that's when.
Yeah, when we were still courting. But when when he married me, there was no violence, no signs of violence. He was a man who could ask me, "Do you have money for lunch?" when we were parting ways in town, and he used to give me money for lunch. He used to take me out for dinners. He used to do any good thing that a man can do. But there was one thing: I was not supposed to be around friends. I was not supposed to be around anyone, because there were some things that I came to realize after his death, that he had another family that he was trying to hide from me. So that's why he had built a cocoon of showing me that he really loved me. There was no other man like him, yet he was doing some other dangerous stuffs outside there. Yeah.
All right, so we'll come back to you in a minute, but we want to talk to Bobo. Sasa Bobo. You know, when you're here last time, of course, Joy was here, and you said for you it is okay. It is like a show of love. Your boyfriend akiku chapa. Do you still hold the same view?
Okay, to me say this semati. Okay, most of women say anachapa and anavumilia juu ya watoto wake. So to me it's okay. Most of the time nafuliza mbona anachapa mtu kama mimi. Juu mimi si kaumadhi ati niko na watoto. Hapana. But me wonge rude at times. But mimi nasikia anachapa nilikuwa nachapa si ati nikitu happen until now, mom. No.
Okay.
But that time nilikuwa naongea rude, and that's why unajua ukiongea rude and unaambiwa in the place then anasikia uliko huko, obviously itakuwa argument, and that argument atakunoka, and yeah.
All right. She says now I'll give you a chance to I'll give you a chance to respond and also come to you, but I want to ask our counselor in the building. So for her, she started when she was 21, no sign at all that it was going to lead to domestic violence. For Bobo, there is a sign of sorts that. So how does somebody tell?
Mainly what you want to look for if this person actually keeps you from living your life. You feel afraid, there is a feeling of fear, you cannot be yourself. The telltale signs for Diana was the fact that he would keep her away from her family, her friends. He doesn't want her to be anywhere where he is not there, because there is a lot of, in fact, when I listened to her story, I thought that he was very depressed and probably very anxious. He had anxiety issues, and that's why, because what happens is that they begin to build a story in their mind, and eventually that story begins to have evidence, and that is why he ended up doing what he was doing, because he had lived it in his head for so long. And there is also an element of fear with this, with the man, that he's afraid of something, so he's trying to protect that which he's afraid of. Now for Bobo, of course the signs are there, right. But I'm thinking, because I watched the one last week, and I'm thinking for her there is also this dynamic tunachapana. So tunapigana, so I'm not being violated because tunachapana. So I think that is a way of her dealing with this. But there is also one thing that we need to understand, that there is a deeper love that you are for you, this is love. And even for him, this is love. I'm protecting what is mine.
Right.
However, how do you draw the line between violence and love? And that is the question. And that's why we as counselors, we are looking, we normally will give you the red flags you need to look at. And so it's complicated. It's not that easy.
Not easy, right?
Yeah.
And we'll get to the red flags, but you said you're coming off a case of domestic violence. What is your story?
Okay, for me, my story, it started when we were courting. He would beat me like Bobo is saying, and after some weeks of silence, not talking to him and all, we would get back together, and then life would go on. Then after some time, it happens again. He beats me. I go back to my mom's house, and then life goes on to Narsov. Yeah. So then came in the kids. Yeah.
So this time when you were courting, how old were you?
I was 20.
20. Okay.
Yeah. So the same cycle continues, and Diana here, he would build that cocoon for me. Like, he didn't want me even to go buy vegetables. He buys everything in the house, and then you think like, this is love, this man really loves me. He buys everything, paka mboga naenda kwa kiosk zinakatwa, and then kitunguu kwa nyumba, and then I have a responsible man, and true, he's responsible, but there is also something that he doesn't want you to find out about him, because he wants you to be in the house all the time. So you think like, this is love, but in reality there is something that he doesn't want you to see about him. Yeah.
And you were shaking your head when Bobo was talking. You had a rebuttal?
To her, I thought Bobo is taking it like it's good to be violated because I am wrong. Because to me, what I'm seeing, Bobo, there are other better ways of solving issues, even in our families right now. If my children go wrong, I don't have to use a cane every now and then. They become used to it. Bobo will become used to be beaten, and today she comes home at midnight, you beat her, the husband beats her or the boyfriend. Tomorrow, she will sleep over and come the next day. Why? Because Bobo knows it's just a matter of beating me up. So slowly by slowly, we are going to see Bobo, like Mwende's case. Tomorrow she doesn't have hands. Or like what I went through, I misinterpreted that I was loved. Later on, I ended up in hospital bed. What I want to tell you, Bobo, is that hospital ceilings are very boring. I was there. Don't dare wait until you go to the hospital.
Right, of course, just for the record, it's not to victimize you or anything, it's just people giving their views as well. And we'll give you a chance also to speak after this. But you're talking about the red flags. What are some of the things, what should we look for to know that, okay, this is now not love, this is now violence, and it could get dangerous?
No, we have to understand the cycle of abuse. It doesn't always start with a slap. It usually starts with emotional, mental
not
abuse.
Necessarily physical.
No. It will start with little bits of, I remember a friend who called me. Oh, she's so excited she got a boyfriend. But the moment she told me how he loves her, red flags went off, because I am going to the salon, he comes with me to the salon, he wants to say what hair I'm going to put on, he goes with me to buy my clothes, and if I wear whatever he doesn't want, he turns violence. Now I want to say this, it's not necessarily whether he cares about what you wear or how your hair looks like. What is important is how he reacts to when you say, no, I don't want it that way. Because you see, it's my hair and this is my dress. So the control issues where now he becomes a little bit, you are looking at him and you are thinking, why are you upset about that? Because it's something small. And so that's what you want to look for. If a person overreacts over things that are not really, they are not of consequence, then you begin to ask yourself, what is this about? What is this about? But usually when we are young, we interpret that to mean that this person really cares about me. But at the end of the day, what they really are trying to do is to protect. And this is not just for men. Women do the same thing too. How many of you guys who are here, your woman calls you all the time until you pick up the phone, or they forbid
Look
you.
at them raising their hands.
Or they forbid you to be with so and so and so and so. Those are telltale signs of the fact that. So we are looking at overreacting, and then we are also looking at control issues. We are also looking at what was the other thing? Isolating you.
Right.
Especially that one is big. When he begins to say, I don't like that friend of yours, if there is a reason for that, then, you know, you believe him or you go because it's your relationship. But when he says, I don't like that one, I don't want you to talk to your mother is not good at all, because people begin to see that there is danger. And when they come to us, then we tell them, this is the thing, because we believe they really love us. And so we tell them, hey, na madhe alisema, and then he says, I don't want you to be talking to your mother anymore. So they isolate you, and eventually, remember, there is a cycle of abuse. It doesn't just start with a slap.
And what about for her case where it just happened like after 10 years? And then it just happened, and when it did happen, unfortunately, it happened very graphically, if I can use that word.
Right, and that's why I said when I listened to her story, because I listened to her story before I met her, my thinking, I thought this man was depressed and he had very high anxiety. So he can live with that. He wasn't generally, according to even to her, he wasn't generally a violent person. So it may not show, but what you want to really look at is to look at the way he reacts when you don't do what he wants.
Okay.
Because it can be small things like you're in church and he keeps telling you, you were supposed to be here an hour ago, where are you? And he begins to suspect things, then you need to be careful. I also want to say, young people, especially now, I see all the time, we are checking each other's phones a lot. Who are you talking to? Your WhatsApp and all that. Those are signs of a person who wants to take away your freedom from you. So we need to find a balance somewhere, you know. So that is the other thing with social media.
Right.
Why did you like that picture? That girl, you liked her. What do you mean? You didn't like mine? No, you know what do you have? Why are you liking that dude? You know, really.
Right. All right. And Bobo, you said I happened sai. So nini change do mulidka mkaongea ndo mka change sasa I happen ama ni general haija happen juu inaenda ku happen.
Okay, sha happen. Ni kitambo. So what we did, aliniambia tulika chini kwanza mimi na yeye kuzovesa tuziambia parents. So akaniambia I want this and this. Na mimi nikamwambia I want this and this. So after that, like 2 weeks, tulikanga like 2 weeks ndo kila mtu realize nini mistakes zake. So tukaongea, and after that, we are now happy.
What I would like to say to Bobo is if this is a long-term relationship, you guys will need to at least invest in a few professional counseling sessions, because what happens, there is something that has already built within them. You know, and it would need to be, you know, resentments, and you will be reminded of the day that you hit me, my nose broke or whatever, and so you don't want things to be triggered, because mutakosana tena, so hamtaki vitu virudishwe tena. And then there is also something else we want to also highlight here. When it's good, it's good. And then when it's bad, it's bad. There is no middle. And that's what we need to be able to understand. That's your past.
Right. And also, you said you're just coming out of. What made you realize that, okay, now I need to leave now, I need to pack and go?
Well, it dawned on me when I was badly beaten, over a rumor. Like, this guy was even threatening me. You know, I can kill you. You know, I can kill you. And he wasn't joking about it. So I was like, oh, you know, for us women, most of us, we are told by the society, you have to stay in. You know, you want to please people. You're suffering, but you want to please people. Now, it dawned on me, like, if I die, I have kids, how are they going to survive? So I have daughters. Do I want them to continue witnessing this? I have sons. Do I want them to grow and become men who are beating their wives? So I had to set an example for my children, and I decided, like, I'm not going to go through this anymore. I have to move on. Yeah, I have to come out of this. Yeah, and it's not long ago, actually.
We can see, I mean, you're still a little bit shaken over it. So I'm going to allow us to also give just our final comments and just any, your rebuttal or reply to anything that you've heard. Also, as to give your final comments.
Okay. I would want to tell these young girls and boys, because they are young. I want to tell them that violence is not only physical. Violence has got several forms. There is abuse when somebody uses words. So somebody can be violating you using words. There is economic violence. We have several forms of violence. So I would want you to sit down and realize, what are you going through? Is it physical? Because most of us, we interpret it is until somebody puts their hand on us that is violence. But violence has got many forms. And also, I always tell people, even to the married ones, maybe there are married ones here, once you sign your marriage certificate, you've not signed your death certificate. So don't wait until we put you in a coffin, because once we go and we give you a decent send-off, we forget about you, but your children remain suffering. If I would have died, who would be taking care of my children? But today I'm a happy parent who is taking care of the children. Though I was in that marriage, I didn't know it was abusive, because I misinterpreted abuse for love. So I want to tell you, those who have not yet gotten married, please take your time. I'm also taking my time. Thank you.
Right. Yourself, are you okay, John?
First of all, I want to say this. If you're in a right relationship or a marriage is beautiful. It's supposed to be beautiful. You're supposed to be loving each other. I don't see anywhere in the Bible where it's written that for a man to love a woman, you must hit her, you must overprotect her. You know, if you love somebody, just let them be free. Let them be them. Don't try to change somebody to be somebody they are not. That's by doing that, you will only love each other more. And please, I don't know why people fight, really. Like, for me, all those years I was in a marriage, I was being beaten, and I was asking myself, really, why can't we just sit down and speak out things? Why am I being beaten? I think I have the capacity for dialogue, yeah? If I'm wrong, yes, I'm human. Correct me. Don't beat me. I'm a human. I understand. Maybe I made some mistakes, but please correct me in the right way. Because if you claim to love me, then let it show in the right way. Yeah. So if you're in a relationship and you think this person loves you by hitting you, then that's not love. Just walk away from it. Yeah.
All right. I allow the counselor to have the last word. So, Bobo.
Mine ni kama mshapendana mpendane, but arguments obvious zitakuwa wili, like you umewajuzi, wezi tuambia ati amjai kosa argument. Si ndio mnakosana, but the best thing ni isifike ni to a point ati mtapigana. Ukiona ameanza kuleta mambo nyingi, just get out. Ungoje hadi atulie, then you come back and itakuwa sawa. Yeah.
You have a chance for the final word.
Yeah, I want to say to all you young people that we need to understand what love is and what love is not. Now, if we were going to look at the classic definition of love that we read, if anybody here cares for that, read from the Bible, it talks about love is kind. And I hope I'm not putting off anybody. The way I look at the Bible, they are words of wisdom. That love is kind. So when you are being slapped, or when you are slapping somebody, are you being kind? Love endures, right? Yes. But it does not endure violence. You have a right to protect yourself, to say, this is where I begin and this is where I end. If you enter here, then now that becomes violence towards me or violating my freedom. And so then we have that, that love does not think of bad of the other person, right? And it's forgiving, and there are all these things that love is, but it is not violence. And if you are in a situation where you are feeling as a guy, let me talk to the guys for just a moment. Guys, I want to tell you this. When we see people who are in our counseling rooms who are beating their wives, they are carrying generational curses. That's what we call it in the Bible. But in layman terms, it's called generational transmission. That there are things that happened over time. You are socialized to think that's the way you should what? Deal with your woman. So I'm going to say this. Maybe nobody has ever told you this. If you are a young man, and we want you young man to be the loving man you want to be, lakini kama kuna anga kule ambayo imetoka mbali na umeangalia, umeona guka alikuwa anapiga bibi zake na baba alikuwa anapiga ndugu zake, nikiangalia my uncles wanafanya the same thing, please have a meeting with yourself, alafu nipigie simu. Nitamwachia Willis namba yangu. Niambie Madam Grace, nataka nikuje to dialogue. Hebu nisaidie hapa. Kwa sababu sitaki kuguza msichana mwingi. Na nyinyi wasichana, if you do not know, you don't, maybe your mother was in an abusive situation. You have people in your family. These things run in families. Let's break them, because you're going to have daughters. What are you going to tell them? Right. Yeah, what are you? And you know what? What happens is that you as a battered woman can also turn violent. Sindio? And we don't want, simunasikia wa vile watu wa Nyeri wanafanya. Atuta? So we want to make sure we take care of ourselves emotionally so that we don't perpetuate these things from continuing to be.
All right. Of course, we'd like to say thank you so much for coming. Of course, there's been a lot of feedback on social media as always. We'll try to get to some of them a little bit later on, but I'd like to say thank you because of time for coming through, and we wish you all the best yourself as you continue to heal yourself as well. And Bobo, shout out to you. Tutakuja mimi nitakuwa MC kwa wedding yako. But at the end of the day, I guess the final thing, what we're trying to say basically is always be where in any circumstance you're celebrated and not tolerated. So always have that at the back of your mind. And indeed, marriage is beautiful. Yes. Amen. Amen. All right, so we want to keep the show going. Coming up next, I know tumekuwa kwa a very somber mood because it was a bit serious for a minute there, and it was also very necessary. But I want you guys, if you still have it in you, say yeah. Yeah. Obada Moko, say yeah. Yeah. All right, coming up, he's preparing for us, and we're going to get just a little bit of what he's preparing for us, even as I go over to the other side and give you some gossip and trends. Make some noise, ndasikie jwaka huku tu. Make some noise for Sudi Boy.